Bayek of Siwa is a character whose story outside of the game is almost as tragic as the one within it. He was a character that was first rumored and kind of whispered to exist on the internet as the potential protagonist for this long time coming Egyptian Assassin's Creed. This Egyptian Assassin's Creed was something that was teased or rumored for I think since Black Flag, and it finally started cropping up more and more on the internet around that time. Some screenshots of his early concept version cropped up in Easter eggs, 4chan leaks, and Reddit, until shortly before the official announcement in 2017, I believe it was, we saw an image of his final version on a t-shirt, and right after that, Bayek was announced to the world. He was an older protagonist, one quieter and more aggressive than someone like Ezio or Arno, and much more experienced and serious than the Fry twins. He was someone that had lived through a lot and lived a lot of adventures before we got to him, unlike many Assassin's Creed protagonists. And it was someone whose tragic origin story was already well underway by the time we got to play as him. Obviously, we're shown the origins of this story, but when we first play as him and pick up the controller, he's already gone through quote-unquote his origin story, compared to someone like Ezio or Arno who lives through these tragedies chronologically with us. You probably remember this, even in the first scene. I'm sure anyone who's played it remembers as well as me. The rage that this character shows, thanks in great part to the mocap and voice acting, it was just so memorable. In that moment, I know I did, and I think anyone who picked up Origins during that time, we all knew that in that moment we were in for something different. And it's been discussed over and over again why we should have had a Bayek trilogy with Bayek and Aya instead of creating a different character in a new game like Odyssey. And that's not something that I necessarily want to go over again in this video. I don't want to wish list this ideal trilogy that's never going to happen. Not because I don't agree with it. I 100% think it was a better choice and I would have loved an ancient trilogy with Bayek and Aya. But it's mainly because it's been talked about a lot. And instead of fantasizing about this trilogy, what I want to discuss is how important and, in my opinion, damaging choosing to leave Bayek behind was for the Assassin's Creed franchise. We all know that Ubisoft right now is not going through a great moment financially in terms of public perception, in terms of revenue, and Assassin's Creed is kind of the only thing holding it afloat, and even that is getting tired out by people. I still think that Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to sell tremendous amounts of copies, and if you're watching this after Assassin's Creed Shadows has come out, we can confirm or deny my statement, but I do think it's going to sell very well. But I do want to discuss, I think, that damage or that tragedy, and I think that it can be explained through two concepts. One is the concept of the poster boy protagonist and the disproportionate value that someone like that can bring to your brand. And the second concept with regards to Ubisoft and their game philosophy revolves around their specific decision between committing to exploiting characters as a main draw to the franchise versus committing to exploiting settings as a main draw to the franchise, what Ubisoft chose and why I personally disagree. But before we dive in, a quick word from today's sponsor. Playing Assassin's Creed Online can be lots of fun, but as Desmond had to learn the hard way, having your online presence be easy to track can be extremely dangerous, sometimes even deadly. Good assassins protect their secrets, and you can protect your online presence with Surfshark VPN. Surfshark keeps your personal data locked away from hackers and trackers by encrypting your internet connection. It makes sure that no one can snoop on your online activity, especially when you're using public Wi-Fi. So whether you're scaling your rooftops in AC or browsing the web, your activity stays hidden in the shadows. It also lets you access content from anywhere in the world, bypassing geo-blocks like a hidden blade slicing through censorship. Stream, game, and browse freely. No walls, no restrictions. And the best part? With Surfshark, you can protect all your devices under one account, and that's a huge plus if you know anything about VPNs. You can even add Surfshark antivirus to keep them safe. So I encourage you to sign up for Surfshark using the link below and get up to 4 extra months. Try it risk-free with their 30-day money-back guarantee. Protect your digital self and get started today. So let's talk about the first concept. A poster boy is a person or a thing that epitomizes or represents a specified quality, cause, or brand identity. So for almost a decade, the poster boy for Assassin's Creed was Ezio Auditore. But that brand power has been waning as more and more protagonists came and went through the revolving door that were these Assassin's Creed games. Ezio now is more than a decade old. He's soon going to be 2 decades old in a few years, and the more we add new protagonists, the more his legacy gets diluted as time goes by. Having a video game character become more iconic or as iconic than the brand they belong to is honestly a miracle. It's probably the best thing that can happen to your IP. It can lead to more fans, higher engagement, more merch sales, more game sales for sequels, and an overall respect for the franchise within the gaming industry that's hard to find without such iconic characters. Most of the time, a poster boy will actually elevate the brand that they represent. They'll get bigger than the brand, and then that brand will become just as big because of that poster boy. These characters are also really hard to find. They do a lot for the brand, but they're very hard to get right. I mean, just look at the recent failures from AAA studios, all trying to find their next big thing. And you can see how hard it truly is to find someone special enough, liked enough, and convincing enough to become as big as the Ezios, the Kratos, the Joels, the Nathan Drakes of the world. It's kind of like catching lightning in a bottle. And I think we can all agree it would have been pretty stupid if Naughty Dog made Uncharted, saw the reaction people had with its protagonist, and just changed the character for the next game. Same with Kratos or Master Chief. Like, imagine that these characters hadn't had the sequels they had. It's directly harmful to your brand. You're kind of wasting an incredible and unique opportunity. And in my opinion, Bayek is the closest they ever were, and probably the closest they'll be for a while, to catching lightning in a bottle for a second time in the same franchise. I think a lot of us could argue that Edward was another lightning in a bottle moment, but I don't know why I think Bayek had so much more potential for a sequel, given how his story ending compared to Edward's, whose story ended pretty conclusively. You want fans to be attached with someone, to want to see their story through. And when you have someone as special as Bayek, who everyone wanted to see how his story unfolded in the next games, who I just know we all saw as special before the release, you kind of have a duty as a business owner to capitalize and double down on this winning character, because you have a winning character, someone who has something different. And that's something that I think Ubisoft deeply missed. And then you go into the second concept, which kind of informs the decision for the first concept, and that is the matter of exploiting setting versus character. And again, when I say exploiting, it doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing. It just means kind of like using it to make money or get something from them, but that's what you do with video games. It's not necessarily a bad thing, especially with non-sentient things. So Ubisoft long ago made the choice to bet on settings instead of characters as like the main appeal for Assassin's Creed. I personally think this was a mistake. While yes, settings like feudal Japan can draw a big crowd, jumping around settings and starting over without emotionally bonding with a character is, in my opinion, a wasteful way of building your franchise, especially a franchise that, quite obviously from how Ubisoft plans around it, is designed to be existing as long as possible. Until Assassin's Creed literally cannot exist anymore, they'll keep releasing content. And I don't think that choosing one setting for one game and then never doing anything more with it is a sustainable way of building this brand. But even if you do jump around settings, revolving it around a specific character is still a good idea. In an Assassin's Creed fan's dream, the Bayek trilogy would have you visiting ancient Rome and ancient Greece. So it's not like these settings don't have appeal either compared to something like feudal Japan, and it's not like these settings don't have variety compared to ancient Egypt. All the best-selling games of all time revolve around an iconic character. Now you can argue what begets the other, if it's the iconic character making it a best-selling game, or if it's the best-selling game making an iconic character, but you always have some special character we're attached to for most best-selling games of recent history. And most of these best-selling games stick with that character in future installments. It's a surefire way to get people to not only come back for the next game, but fight and promote them to other people. When you get attached to a person or the idea of a person more than simply an experience, you tend to be more defensive of it and proud of it, because just of how in love with them you are. I haven't seen so much hype about an AC character since Bayek, at least not so unanimously. Some people in the RPG camp who like Odyssey really love Cassandra, while others in my opinion rightfully point out that she's not really a character but merely a contradictory vessel, where sometimes she's a character and sometimes she's just a puppet for you to control. Others love Basim, for example. I count myself among those. I love Basim and I think he's one of the best characters in the franchise, and I'm very happy we got to see him again proving how so many of the people that wanted to buy Mirage just wanted to because they were interested in Basim. But again, no one character has captured the attention and admiration of an entire fan base so unanimously quite like Bayek ever since his appearance. Cycling through characters and settings, starting from scratch all the time, seems like the wrong choice for me in the long term. And though it could have been justified with most protagonists up until Bayek, even with Edward and Arno, because as I said, their stories are pretty conclusive, Edward more so than Arno, I think that creating a sensational protagonist like Bayek and giving him up less than 1 year later for him to never appear again is not only a true tragedy, but a disservice to the fans, a disservice to the IP, and a disservice to the business. However, AC Origins does provide a decent amount of time with him. It's like a 60-hour game, and there are a few ways you can change up your gameplay to understand him further and be more immersed. If you're interested in learning how to play Assassin's Creed Origins in a lore-accurate way, you can watch the video that appears on your screen right now.